Hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. And oh, buddy, what a freaking day, man. A day where, it felt like across the league, it was like trap game Sunday, favorites in trouble Sunday, whatever you want to call it. And look, it wasn't pretty. We're going to dive into it all, but the Eagles found a way to win a game, and you'll tell us about how bad it was, but seemingly on TV, a super cold, ugly type of football game against a bad team. And Dallas freaking lost, Eliot Short Parks, because Dallas sucks. WP loves the Eagles, and we'll always have our freaking back. And look, it is like a tale of, like, we're going to get into it all, but off the top, my main thought is, a day where the Chiefs went to overtime against the Texans, the Eagles obviously played a sloppy game that was a little closer in score than it probably should have been, but still not a definitive win in Chicago. And the Cowboys blow a huge lead and lose to a Jacksonville team that's better than the Bears, but still a significantly worse team than they are. You know what? I come out of it and we say stack wins, and they stacked a huge win today, Eliot. Like, they basically, they basically clinched the one seed and the NL East, basically, for all intents and purposes. And NFC. Today, man, today. So, how you doing, pal? Like, what a day. I'm happy. My point is, I'm happy. It wasn't pretty, and there are things I'm annoyed about, but I'm happy.
Well, there's so many things to start with this game. And I think that where we should start, though, and even if it's how we start every victory pod, you know what? We've done a lot of post-game pods. We did 2020 pods. We did 2021 pods. There are not a ton of victory pods in there, right? So while it might be a little repetitive to start every pod with this, I really think it's a great way to start. Winners win. We're a winners win pod. Winners
stack and wins. That's been like our slogan all season. Stack wins. Stack wins. And that's a freaking stack today.
Bro. Yeah. And look, I am about style points. I do think there are certain games where you have to play well and you have to show certain things. But here's the reality. This Bears win matters just as much as a win at the Cowboys will next week, because all the Eagles have to do from here on out, there are 3 games left. They have to win one of them. And we should
just have the Cowboys lose one of them.
Yeah, or lose one. They could lose all of them and still get the one. But here's the thing that I think is like the right way to start it. The Eagles are 13-1. I mean, real. Think about that. They tied, I think, in the email it said.
It's only once in our lifetime. Like, I've only seen the 2004 Eagles go 13-1.
They tied.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever seen it in my life. I'm 41 years old, Eliot. It's the only other time I ever saw it. And at that point in our lives, we were like, this is the best Eagles team we've ever seen by far in 04. And,
like, again, 13-1. They're basically going to be the 1 seed. And this is not where they were supposed to be after what last year was, after what 20-20 was. Winning has become routine for this team. Winning has become almost, I don't want to say taken for granted, because people love wins and Eagles fans are excited and all that stuff is true. But they just go to New York last week, beat the Giants, no big deal. They show up in Chicago today. They don't even play that well. They pretty much have the game always in hand. And we talk about it when we talk about the Parks app, but today's a really good example of it. At halftime, I pulled the Parks app up. I opened it. They were minus 800 on the money. The spread was 8.5. That's what it was before the game, right? So, like, even though it was ugly, and even though there were stretches of the game where I was like, you know what, man, maybe this is it. And I was thinking about it while it was happening, which is, even though they're the 1 seed, it is a fragile 1 seed if they lose that game. Because if they lose that game, you have to win in Dallas. Otherwise,
assuming Dallas wins. In that moment, we thought Dallas was going to win. Yeah. But in that moment.
Yeah, at the portion of the game where the Eagles were, kind of struggling.
Because Dallas was up big. Dallas was up big. Yeah.
100%. They took the lead again with 2 minutes to go. But look, like, winners win. Cowboys, not winners, as you might say. I mean, if you want to, drop it on them one more time.
Dallas sucks. Like, what a day for it. A walk-off pick 6 for the Jaguars.
Dak, too. I mean,
that's good. Like a top 10 win in Jaguars history. Like,
it really is.
It's amazing.
But so they go from, midway in that second quarter, whatever anyone wants to pick at the low point of the game, to where Dallas is winning, they're losing, and you're like, oh my God. they could be the 5 seed because going to Dallas next week, now they're better than Dallas, so they could win the game. But going to Dallas next week is not an easy game. But guess what? It does not matter now. And I'm sure we'll get into it at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, man. We will get into it, buddy.
Right. But like the
reality, what a power move it would be to sit everybody for it. Because you know
what?
You could. I'm just saying.
So there's that to think about. But on a day where Hurts was bad early on, the offense was sloppy. There were penalties. I mean, the defense, I thought some of the tackling efforts on that Justin Fields insane run was
horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
And you know,
it was like a 2nd and 27 or something.
Yeah.
And he got like 50 yards.
Fletcher misses on the fumble. Like
totally. It was sloppy football.
They brought their C- game today.
Yeah, maybe even less than that, Eliot. Right. And here's the point. And look, I get it. You know me. What am I gonna say, right? I mean, maybe one of my biggest dumb phrases that I've repeated 1,000 times on this pod and WIP and anywhere else. But athletes are humans.
I know it. I knew what you were gonna say.
And they look at that tape, and yeah, they know Fields can move and stuff, but they look at that tape and say, "Wow, this team blows." Like, let's be honest, we're so much better than them. And they get there, and it's 1 o'clock for them, 12 o'clock internal body clock wise.
And I'll tell you what, man.
Freezing cold, right? That's what it's about. You could see it on TV, Eliot. Like they said at the beginning of the game, 6 degrees on the field was what it felt like, and you could see it the whole game. It was like one of those games where you can see the.
I just mean the hour early, just the hour early. Like
another good point, right? Like exactly,
like my clock of what's used to being like, oh, it's 9 o'clock, so whatever. Like it's completely different.
And you go in watching that film, being like, all right, we got this, and then that's where it's like nut crunch time. And that's why it's so hard to be 13-1 in the season, 100%. Because you're going to have these games where you're on the road in a really crappy weather, and it's not fun. It's not fun to be out there getting hit and the stingers and how battle that feels. And you're, fighting against a team, you're better than them, but you just didn't bring it from an emotion, energy. Football's all about that. Yeah. And to be able to gut it out. And to be, like Hurts, talk about like anyone, and I haven't been a league in the playoffs. Anyone who owns Hurts in fantasy, you're like, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like he puts up 36 points in my league with 3 freaking rushing touchdowns. Right. Dude has 13 rushing touchdowns in 14 games. Yeah, like it was just, and that's where, and honestly, like Hurts. Today, like you want to talk about, we've seen him do so many different things this season. We've seen him win games just by running for a ton. We've seen him win games by, dicing teams up from the pocket. I mean, the deep throws, the drops to AJ, like hit the drop in the bucket to him, like multiple today. I mean, it's just, but today, like, and look, it's worrisome, and we could talk about that because my man got popped a lot. But like today was like a Jalen Hurts saying, "All right, this is a trap game. We showed up like it's a trap game, and I'm just going to throw my body on the line, throw everything I have on the line, and find a freaking way to win this game and put points on the board and like do what it takes." And I was just, that was a Jalen Hurts is your captain, your quarterback, whatever type of win today. I mean, even though he wasn't great, like on a day he didn't have it in the freezing cold, like, man, dude, he was a warrior today, Eliot.
Well, another rough day for people that think Jalen is just being carried by the team.
I know. You had a great tweet. I thought it was a great point by you. Like when they were struggling, it was because Jalen was struggling. That was it. Like,
I remember
and Nick, we'll get to that. Nick, it was not a great game plan, but
all right. Well, we're gonna disagree on that. So I'm excited to get into that one. But But look, I remember we did the pod. Who should get the most credit for the Eagles' success? It was Nick, Lurie, Howie, Jalen, and we debated it throughout. And then at the end, I said, I'm overthinking this. The quarterback is the engine of the car, right? And he's the engine. And so this whole idea we talked about on Go Birds this past Saturday, that this whole idea that he was being carried. No, he is the reason this team is great. And you saw it today. The roster was the same today. The scheme was the same today. The coaching was the same today. Jalen was off, and so the whole team looked off. The interceptions, the missed throws. I actually didn't think there were a ton of poor decisions. I thought his accuracy was just off. He talked about it after the game, and he said he was really cold. And someone brought up,
and the Quez pick looked like just a miscommunication.
Yeah,
and the first one just looked like an underthrow. I agree with you. I don't think it was a bad call.
Yeah, I thought,
especially, and look, the play before, we all know, like the play before, if they drive, like that play was like,
that play's unreal.
arguably the best throw he's ever made, running to that side,
Yeah, it was an
kind of
insane
like
throw.
insane and a great catch too. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, what's crazy about those two throws? So the Smith one, I don't know how it came across on TV, but watching it live, I'm watching him. He throws it. I look and I'm like, oh, he's throwing it away.
Yeah,
Devontae just comes out of nowhere.
It's exactly how it came.
You couldn't have thrown the ball any better.
It was a superlative play.
In the Quez interception, watching it live, it almost looked like Quez wasn't expecting the ball, or like he thought it was too far ahead and he didn't dive for it.
It looked like on the replay, and it was pretty clear, and they talked about it. It looked like Jalen expected Quez to break harder to the left, like to cut harder.
Yeah, or something.
And he threw it to a spot, and Quez cut up, like a soft cut up instead of a hard cut to the left. Either way, I don't think it was a great throw, and it wouldn't have worked out regardless. But it was clearly he thought Quez was going to do something.
Yeah, some type of miscommunication. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, it was almost helpful for Jalen's MVP case, because we saw today that when Jalen, like, all these games where we come on, they're like, wow, they scored 45 or 48 points or 51 or what, blah, blah. It's not a coincidence that Jalen's great in those games. When you have a great quarterback playing great, you're going to look way better. And when your quarterback isn't early on, you're, losing to the lowly Chicago Bears. So early on, not great for sure. But he improved. And I think one thing we talk about a lot with Jalen, and we talk about so much with his demeanor and how he doesn't get rattled, where that to me shows itself the best, is he never presses and he never lets things snowball on him. I saw a lot of Carson games where early on Carson would struggle, and then afterwards we're being asked, oh yeah, that was kind of a risky throw. And he's
such a great point out.
Right? Like, and he
never presses.
He never presses, and he never looks rattled. And I thought in this environment, in this cold weather and all those things, I mean, I would not have accepted them, like, just kind of, going in their shell and being like, well, today's not our day, because that's not acceptable in the NFL. But I would have almost understood it. I mean, I was out there, right? Like,
totally, dude. Totally. You could see it on TV. It was uncomfortable watching.
So funny story. So after the game, I'm walking to, like, get my lift or whatever to come back to the hotel room. And I saw two people almost get in a fight. Like, and the guy was like, he's like, they were like yelling back and forth. I thought they were going to swing. And I thought to myself, man, because my ears were super cold. I can't wear a hat, obviously, because of my hair, So
obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Right.
Even though you look great in them, who knew?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. But, so anyway, my ears were really cold. And I thought to myself, man, it would super hurt to get hit in this type of cold. And then I thought, well, the Eagles players just did that for 4 hours. I know they have helmets on, but I truly believe, like, it was a level of cold where I would have almost understood giving up in a way. Like, it was that cold. I think they expected to come in, end the game early, and just kind of like take it easy from there. And when that didn't happen, maybe they were just a little like, all right, what's going on here? And I mean, the defense played well. It was really, really just Jalen at the beginning. But yeah, it was super cold, and they fought through. And to your point, this is why 13-1 is so impressive. And it's why only one loss is, I mean, again, think about that. In the second quarter, if Dallas wins that game and they just continue to kind of mess around and lose this Chicago game, think of how fragile that is, right? Like, there's been so many times, the Colts game, the Arizona game, just so many games that could have gone either way, and they pulled them out. And I don't know if this game would have gone either way, because I think even though they were losing, if
they were so much better, totally.
They're just so much better.
Like we said, we think that you said C-. I would honestly probably say D+, but like, they played either a C- or a D+ game, and won by 5, with like the last point Chicago scoring being like a miscommunication on defense touchdown. It was like they dominated them. Like,
they did.
They dominated them, even though they played horrible.
100%. But then at the same time, if Jalen doesn't get that 3rd and 6 or whatever it is at the end, Chicago at least has the ball down 5. And as Justin Fields showed, it's one play.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, no, I mean, look, it's a huge win. It's a huge win. And again, like, I think we're focusing on how bad they played, which is true, but like, the defense was really good today.
Look, we started with a stack wins, like,
yeah, for sure.
No, like, I don't want that to be submerged. My main takeaway from today, especially in light of watching what happened around the rest of the league and watching Dallas lose to the Jaguars, the team that the Eagles beat, watching the Chiefs almost lose to the Texans, like legit almost. Like, the
Vikings yesterday.
they freaking won, man. Like they
Yeah.
won this game again, to our point where it's like it's hard to get up for that. Like, how do you go in there and look at the Bears on tape? Like, you look at like the guys on I never heard of like 80% of the guys on the Bears, man. It's crazy.
Well, you said it, and it's true. I mean, it was a definition of a trap game.
Well, that's really, it's so funny, dude. It's so funny because it just was. Like, they won it like a trap game. You always lose a trap game, but it was a trap game. And they showed up like a trap game, and it looked like a trap game. And guess what? We didn't talk about it because we only talk about the Eagles, but Dallas-Jacksonville was a trap game for Dallas too.
And they blew it.
Exactly. And now the Eagles won their trap game, and Dallas lost their trap game. Like, and Jacksonville's better. That's fine. I get that. But still, like, both teams had a trap game, and one won and one lost. And the Eagles found a way to win that game. And again, to your point, like, I want to get to the game plan thing in a sec, but I agree, like, Hurts, I wanted to start with Hurts, but the second biggest, and look, AJ was amazing and Devontae's amazing. I want to get to all that, but the second biggest reason they won this game is because the defense was freaking awesome. Yeah, and the defensive line was, and it's been weeks. This has been building, and I know it hasn't been the best offensive lines that they're playing, but this defensive line is getting confidence. Eliot, they are going to set the Eagles' season sack record. Yeah, like they're like 6 away or 7 away or something from setting the record. 1989. It's like Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and all those dudes. Like, they're going to break that, maybe even in 16 games potentially.
Yeah, and that defense had to do it. Good.
Dude, last thing, the point, like, and I don't know if you saw this Roop tweet earlier, but it changed today, went even further. You know, Reddick's at 12, Hargraves at 10, Sweat's at 9.5, Graham's 8.5.
He's at 10 now.
No team in the history of the NFL ever has had 4 double-digit sack guys ever in the history of the league. And, like, there's a really good chance that's going to happen. They're definitely going to have 3. Like, that's crazy, man.
And I'm not saying they never blitz, because I think they're 16th in the league in blitz percentage. So they do blitz, but keep in mind, they're doing this basically, you know, just with their defensive line. Like, they don't have a lot of linebacker sacks. I don't any cornerback have a sack. Maybe Maddox does. Like, they're getting it from the front 4. And today,
Reddick has 12, man. Reddick was a terror. Reddick was a terror.
Yeah,
today.
he was dominant. He was completely dominant early on.
What a signing, dude. And, what a signing.
We've been debating it more and more as the season has gone on. I almost tweeted it today, and then I pulled back because AJ's been awesome too.
Because AJ had a 181 or 180 whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was awesome too. But man, Reddick is every single. I mean, a bargain. What they give him, $30 million guaranteed. He's gonna be one of the top sack guys.
I mean, you could argue, and again, we would have to go through it and all that. But like,
I think he's a better contract than AJ.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if there are. I was gonna say, I think. I would be shocked if Reddick and Brown were not 2 of the top 5 offseason additions in the NFL this season for all teams combined. I think they have 2 of the top 5. Like, I have to look through it on it, but like, they have to be, right?
They have to be. There's no question about it.
Brown's at like 1,200 yards essentially, and Reddick has 12 sacks, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so Reddick was awesome. I mean, the whole defensive line was awesome again. And that's why, you know,
Hargraves, Sweat, all of it.
We both agree the team did not bring their A game, and we can, you know, parse or whatever the saying is on like C-, D+, whatever. Sure. But the reason it's not an F, a large point, is because of the defense. Like, the defense kept them in this game. I mean, there was 2 turnovers early that Jalen had. I don't think they gave up any points off of those. They did give points up off the Miles fumble, which kind of looked like an incompletion. I think no.
If you watch it at home, at least, and maybe people would disagree with me, but watching it at home,
replay,
both live and the replay, at least on TV, to me, I felt look, there was no doubt that once they called it that, it was not going to get overturned.
Right. I don't think you would have won.
But if you asked me, if you just showed me the play and said, which is that, I probably would have called it a fumble personally. But it was close.
So anyway, they gave points up off of that, but they minimized the damage of the turnovers early on. So yeah, I mean, they gave up 20 points, but those last 3 were the last touchdown is what it is. They made a mistake. It counts. It could have ended up costing them. But it was
look, your boy made only 1 bet today, and one of it was Eagles -6.5. I took in the Parks app, app. I pulled them down to -6.5. I had them. I had the Lions money line, which, by the way, Dan Campbell, 7 wins, 7. An important number, because you said that would never happen in his career. He did this year, and he's got games left to go. But I had that, and then I had Washington money line tonight. So I would be going into tonight like I just made one bet, and I never
It's
bet.
not
Like,
for that touchdown.
I'm just sitting here despondent. But you know what? It's all good because Eagles won and the Cowboys lost. Dallas sucks. Shout out to
Well, I know
LP.
how to make you feel better.
Hey!
You ready?
Oh,
You want to go on your run? You want to go on your run the ball rant? I know.
Yeah,
Twitter.
well, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Seriously, because it's I like you come into this game, you're coming off, first of all, Miles obviously having the best season of his career by miles. Sorry, I did not intend for that to be what it was, but it just came out. But he is, and he's coming off a great week, and you're going into a matchup where Chicago has one of the worst run defenses in football, like 29-30th, depending on the metrics you look at. And it's a game where it's freezing freaking cold out. It's, a disaster from a weather perspective. Like you're asking Hurts. I mean, so many design runs to get hit, and he was popped today, and it's like freezing cold, and it's like a tough day out there. Like, I don't know, help everybody out, run the football a bit.
Yeah.
Just come out and move the ball. You have a great offensive line. The Bears are so bad at stopping it. I think I would have been okay. And obviously, look, they won not, but I would have been okay if they came out and just kind of pounded them to death and won this game, 20-10 and an ugly, but they ran for 220 yards and just, and Jalen had more space or less kind of pops because it was, a little more of a real fake that they were actually going to hand the ball to Miles on RPOs and stuff like that. It just felt like, and again, look, they won the game, and I think Jalen being bad, I think the passing offense could have worked early. Like, I think it's not just the game plan that hurt it. I do think Jalen hurt it too, but it just felt like a silly game plan coming into this specific game with this specific opponent, and obviously it bared out that way, for whatever that's worth, results, process, all that.
So I'll say this, that, I'm a big believer in passing the ball. Like that's,
no doubt.
It's my fetish, as we
do. Well, I remember. That's funny. I forgot something. Sometimes little inside baseball, and I'm sure you have this and I have this, but sometimes when the other one's going and we don't want to interrupt, we just want to let them do their thing. Like, you'll have something you're going to say and you forget it. And I don't want to be sitting here with a pen and paper and writing down. I want to be locked in with you. So I forget stuff. So a point I was going to make is in the last answer, right after I had said, as you hear my TV turn off in the background.
Nice.
I was going to say, I said my joke about how you hear me say 1,000 times that I'm athletes are humans.
Yeah. You
had a line in your last answer where it was like, it was something about, passing wins in football or whatever it was. And I was like, that's the line that Eliot said. I wanted to jump in and say it, but anyway,
yours is players are humans, mine's pass the ball.
I'm just happy we got back there,
Yes. But, so here's my thing. Yes. I think that too much of an extreme of one thing is never a good thing. So
agree.
I think Miles only having one carry in the first quarter and a half is not good. Now, part of that is open.
And zero with the first 3 drives or whatever.
Exactly right. They're too good at running the ball. Miles is too good. It's windy. You saw Hurts was struggling. So I understand run the ball thing. But my ultimate opinion on this is, if we're all going to say Jalen's the MVP and we're all going to say AJ is amazing and Devontae is awesome and all these things, then I'm not going to fault Nick for going into a game feeling like he can pass the ball. Like that, his game plan.
That's fair. I get it.
If his
the Bears are bad at both, so I get it.
They're bad at both. And look,
it's more of a weather thing in a situation. It was just like, it just didn't feel like a day you go out and sling the ball. It's like the football's hard to catch. It hurts hands. Jalen's hand's going to be kind of numb. Like, it just felt like a classic cold weather football game. And I get it. You buck the trends and it doesn't always have to be like it used to. But to me, when I was watching this game, I was like, I feel like we could run all over these guys if we just did it. And it feels like the right move. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Quick tangent question, but I don't
love it. I love an Eliot. Okay. Honestly, I think there is no, I'm going way bigger than that. I don't think anyone's tangents in life I prefer more than yours. Wow. I think you're the king of tangents and conversation.
Well, it's a lot of expectations off this. But is there any worry for you about Jalen in the cold? He admitted afterwards that he was worried about the cold. Last year, he played worse as it got colder. And he was asked about, well, it's going to be cold in Philly come playoff time. And he joked like, well, it's not going to be Chicago. And that's true, but it is going to be cold. I don't know. I'm not raising the red flag. I'm just asking. I mean, he himself said it was really cold and his hands were numb, and he definitely struggled. He struggled at the end of last year. Now their playoff game was in Tampa. So, weather-wise.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a really fair question.
He played at Alabama. He played at Oklahoma. He grew up in Texas.
No, it's a totally fair question. I'll give you the reasons I'm less concerned, but I think it's a fair thing to bring up. One, the running ability and how much that matters because it's going to be cold for everyone, right? Like,
right.
Whoever's coming in is cold. And if we're looking at the teams we're most quote unquote concerned about, with Dallas and San Francisco, like, am I concerned about Brock Purdy in cold weather? Who am I more concerned about in cold weather, Brock Purdy or Jalen Hurts? Who am I more concerned about in cold weather, Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott? Like, Dak's not a freaking cold. So it's like, I get it. And I think it's a very fair thing to bring up, but I don't know if it worries me this season that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
and especially the running matters. Cause if it's cold, you can just run,
So I'm at a point with the quarterback runs. I'm not going to lie. Like, I know you have to call them in certain spots. I know how much they do it for the offense. I know it's what makes them special.
Oh, dial it back a bit right now.
I don't know,
like,
man.
Right now.
There's, I think it's the two first runs of the game. Now, again, these are RPO things where he's making a decision, whatever. There were the first two runs of the game. He basically just plowed into the line of scrimmage.
I know.
I mean,
and he took more hits today than maybe any other game.
Dude,
he got popped.
There was a hit today where he laid on the ground and just kind of kept his.
I know. Trust me. We all know. We all saw on TV. The announcers mentioned it. It was like,
yeah.
Oh,
now, I will say Jalen, the more I watch him play, he does do a thing where if he takes a big hit, he lays on the ground. I think he like composes himself and then he just pops up and he's fine. And I think that was one of those examples. But again, and I know running makes him special. I know the touchdown today where the sea opened and he ran right down the middle.
Oh, it was amazing.
Those are huge plays, like 100%. But he's a $45 million quarterback now. He's your franchise.
Well, even that, forgetting that, it's more that yeah, we're trying to win the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
Like, this is a special team and a special season. And, we're getting to the point where,
there's coming down to 2 games to get to the Super Bowl.
There's no other goal. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
You need to win two home games and then you have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Like, you need to protect Jalen at this point. I'm actually with you on this, especially because it's like at certain points it felt like excess, felt like unnecessary, Yeah.
And I thought it was last week against the Giants. They're up like 20 something points,
especially in the cold. It's like that. I was about to earmuffs 1, 2, 3. That shirt hurt so much worse in the cold, man. Like, we all play, or a lot of us played football. Like, I'm telling you, when it's freezing cold and a helmet slams up against your arm, it's like 1,000 times worse than like a normal day. So, anyway.
All right, can you hear me now?
I got you. I lost you.
There was a microphone problem for a second.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're team no delete, so everyone will hear that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're live. So
live.
No, good rant. I did not respond because I was muted. But yes, like at the end of the day, you gotta protect him from himself. Nick kind of used this example. I don't know if he was talking about Jalen specifically, but it was kind of like and he meant this in a nice way, but it's like when you with your kids, you trust them. You know they'll do the right thing, but sometimes you just gotta be the adult and not put them in the situation where they
no doubt.
And Jalen's great at not taking a hit. Jalen's great at protecting his body. Man, when it's cold out and you're talking about having to win 2 games for the rest of the year, my goal for the rest of the season, because they're going to be the 1 seed. They're not going to lose all 3 games. They will win one of the last.
Oh, they're going to be the 1 seed.
Yeah, they will be the 1 seed, right? My goal the rest of the season is to minimize the amount of times Jalen Hurts takes a hit. Point blank, because you are not winning. Look, could they win with Minshew in the playoffs because the roster's awesome and it's 2 games and it's at home? Yeah, it's possible, right? But your best chance at winning the Super Bowl is with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, and you have to protect him from being hit. So that's the kind of the tangent we kind of got.
Cosign.
Yeah.
That's the official Go Birds position. We got the 1 seed. Look, if you get to the last week of the season somehow and everything's a catastrophe and you have to win that game against the Giants, fine, play him.
Yeah, then at
that point, then we'll deal with it there. But now protect him. I'm with you. I want to get to that. Go ahead.
Well, this last thing I was going to say, because I took us on the tangent, but with the throwing the ball thing, yes, I agree they should have probably ran a little more. Too much in extreme is one thing. I just ultimately always believe that you throw the ball to get the lead. I trust Jalen to throw the ball. I trust that their receivers are elite. Like, because then also if you spend all week game planning to do it, and then Jalen comes out poorly and he completely switches everything up, like what's that say too? Like Jalen knows the game plan. Jalen knows what they want to try to do. And so if Jalen struggles early with 2 interceptions and all of a sudden he's like, wow, Nick's calling a lot more runs than I expected, I don't know how that does either. Right. So, and at the end of the day, I mean, AJ and Devontae both had over 100 yards. It's a bit inflated, I guess, in a weird way, because, 80 some or 68 of them were on one play for AJ.
But still, big passes count. That's the whole thing. I mean,
100%.
Devontae had the big one too. All that.
Like if Nick came into this game saying we can exploit them in the passing game, once Jalen cleaned it up a little bit, they absolutely did that.
Yeah, and I agree. I get your point. I still don't like the game plan, but I agree. I think Jalen, could have looked different. But if I'm coming into this game looking at their deficiencies in the situation, I would have run it more. Yes. But I get your point, and I think it's a fair one. All right, last two things I have, and then I want to look ahead to the Dallas game because all of a sudden it's interesting in a different way than we thought it was going to be interesting. Yes. Two quick thoughts. One, I've enjoyed the weekly. I feel like we don't give this person enough credit because this team has been so freaking amazing that it's like players who are playing amazing are getting a lot of credit. And even then it's not enough. Yeah. Today's guy, I think last week's was Reddick for me and boom, that worked out again. Yeah. Pretty good. Man, Devontae Smith's so good. Yeah. Like AJ awesome. And like what a signing and what a day. And he's just like a freaking monster out there. But like, man, like Devontae is so smooth and so quick, like quicker than you think he is, and he's always in the right spot, and his hands are amazing, and his body control to get the like I think back to like the chip days when we had like Dorial Green, Beckham, and all these guys, and we used to like get like outraged about how a guy couldn't get 2 feet in bounds on a ball you would jump up for, and these like ridiculous things. And now like you watch Devontae and it's perfect in all those ways and all those things. I just feel as great as AJ's been, and he has been, and I'm not saying Devontae isn't getting credit. I just feel
I think it's really it's important to bring
awesome.
Up. Yeah.
He's awesome.
I mean, you look, I understand when you're the number one guy, the coverage is different. I get all that stuff. But I also think if you knew nothing about either player and you just watch this season, I mean, Devontae's almost as good as AJ.
Yeah,
he makes
no
crazy
doubt.
catches. He's great along the sideline. For as much credit as AJ gets about like his yak, I don't think there's been a ton of yak from him this year. Not more than Devontae, right? So, I mean, they have two legitimate number one receivers, like flat out. They have, we can debate this, and we have throughout the whole season and the offseason, like, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. Maybe you take that. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, debatable, whatever.
I think that's it. I think it's Waddle and Hill. I think it's Waddle and Hill is the only one I definitively take over.
Yeah, but after that, like, no one else is definitely better.
No doubt.
In Devontae, I think this is where you trust Howie, Nick, and Jalen to keep the relationship going. Devontae could decide when his contract's up, if the Eagles aren't going to give him elite money, someone else will, and he'll go there. And I won't blame him. He should go get his payday, all those things 100%. But man, if he can stay here and if they can make it happen, they're going to have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL, the majority of the upcoming years, right? Like, yes, Tyreek and Jalen certainly, but Devontae is awesome. I mean, we talked about the Jalen catch early.
Well, look, Waddle and him are going to be up for contract at the same time, so both those teams are going to face those decisions too.
100%. But the Jalen throw we talked about earlier, where it looked,
oh my God,
a great catch by Devontae too. I mean,
it was.
Think of some of the catches he made. Remember in Washington, those huge catches.
Oh my God, totally.
He has just as many highlight reel catches. So
and also, you know what else he has, and it's someone, and it's that you bring up the name and it's a different connotation than it used to, but that's the way I was used to feel watching Antonio Brown back in his heyday. Was like he would always be like open by a mile. And it's like, how is that guy just there? And there's like, he's got like a yard to 2 yards in every direction. Like Devontae's like that because the route runner is, and he obviously makes the tight window and stuff, but there are just these throws where it's like, why is he so open? It's like, oh yeah, because he's just perfect at that.
Yeah.
I
mean, he's elite. And afterwards he's talking about, coming in, remember the clip against the Jaguars from early in the year where he was really cold. And, he said he likes playing in the cold. It's the rain that does it for him.
Love it.
I said to him, as someone that also hates rain, I said,
you were like, I feel you, buddy. Trust me.
I did not say that. It would have been a tough one to explain.
It would have been hilarious. And
it would have been. Yeah. Anyway, a few years ago, my basement flooded, Devontae. But no. So yeah, he's awesome. He's unbelievable. You're right. I think he does not get enough credit because Jalen gets a lot, deservedly so. AJ does because he's new and he's awesome and all those things. But think about this. Devontae's going to have better numbers than he had last year, despite the fact AJ's here.
Oh, totally. He already
hit 1,000 yards.
Dude, he's already.
He didn't top it today. My bad.
He got more catches last week. He got more catches than he had all last season. Like he crossed last season's number last week.
Yeah, and he'll end up beating it. Real quick side note too. It is kind of funny they went on a 19-play drive and got no points.
It's amazing.
It's
so good.
Pretty hard to do. Like
It's very just like last year, Quez Watkins having a 91-yard catch that was the longest catch in the NFL that year and not a touchdown. That's hard to do too.
That is hard.
All right. Last thing I have, and then we'll see if and then we'll look ahead to the Dallas thing because there's a question about that. But I just had to bring this up because you don't get to hear the broadcast because you're at the game, and I just love this so much. Joe Davis brought this up, and he said that Nick Sirianni, when they were talking to him, and this is a quote unquote,
I can tell already.
Yeah, I love it so much. He said to them, and they were talking about his style and how he motivates guys, and he goes, Nick Sirianni said to us, the most powerful motivator is love.
I love that.
Like, and he just talks like this guy, like if you love the guy next, and we hear that from Nick and all that, but like a phrase like that, and he's so right. Like, look, we all know that. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's saying, my wife and my daughter, I would jump in front of a bus for them. I would certainly play football as best I could for them and give them every, and like obviously it's an extreme example, but you're gonna go above and beyond for people you love and people you care about. And I just think it's just like a little line that like we always talk about is such a glimpse into why this guy is special.
Someone tweeted me this week, and I apologize because I forget who it was, but it was a really good point. We talk so much about, and we've brought this up on our own, aside from this person, that, they complement each other so well, and they do. But I really do think Jalen allows Nick to be Nick. Like if Jalen needed different things as a quarterback, if Jalen who wasn't who he was, maybe they just are who they are. So Nick would be the same no matter where he is. But I do wonder if because Jalen's his guy, he's able to be a little more of himself here than he was.
Well, especially because one is so reserved and the other is so it's like they're kind of perfect contrast. Like a yin and a yang almost from a personality standpoint.
I do think Jalen would be this way no matter where he was. I think it just is who he is 100%.
Agree.
I do wonder if Nick was in another situation, if he would, as the coach, be like, okay, they don't need.
No, it's a super interesting.
I think because of who Jalen is, Nick's able to be who he is, and I
love that. Perfect. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, looking ahead, last thing that I have is looking ahead this week, and this will be something talked about. As we've talked about, they're 3 games up on Dallas with 3 games to play. All they have to do is either win one or Dallas has to lose one for them to clinch division. They have the game against the Saints next week after this, a game that, has draft pick compensation, ramifications and all that. Coming off a short week, a cold game in Chicago, how do you approach this Dallas game? Do you sit guys? Look, we could all say it'd be the most power flex move of all time. And I saw Chris Law on Twitter, he works the NFL Network, tweet this saying that he said it before the game day, but he's like, they should just sit all their guys in Dallas. It'd be the most flex power move of all time. Plus, you're going to face them potentially in the playoffs. Like, why show them anything? Why have to beat a team 3 times on it? But the counter is you beat them and you clinch division. It's over and you do it emphatically. Where are you at on this?
So I can accept that the world is not ready for the take that they should sit their starters. I can accept that.
I agree.
But I would ask anybody that thinks that they should try all out what their why is. Like, what's the reasoning of why they should try? And if the reasoning is you want to beat Dallas, I can respect that. I know my, best friend pod co-host can respect that as well. But that's not how decisions should be made, right? We saw this in training camp. Decisions shouldn't be made strictly out of emotion. I'm an emotional guy. I know it can be tempting. I always like to make decisions, or at least if I could make the decision all the time off my emotion, I would. But there's also sometimes I have to sit there and be like, okay, you want to do this, but what's the best actual decision? Nobody can convince me that the best decision is go into Dallas and try to beat them, because Dallas has 14 games of game film out there now, right? There is a clear opportunity based off looking at those game films, how the Eagles would want to attack Dallas in a game that really matters. Their coaching staff, Gannon, Sirianni, Steichen, Michael Clay, they will look at Dallas's game tape and say, okay, here's how we attack the Cowboys. You get one shot at that, one shot at surprising them with how you think you would attack them. I am saving that surprise shot for a potential playoff game. And you might not play them. The Cowboys could lose in the first round. The matchup might not come. But they're the only team left on the schedule, in theory, that you could play in the playoffs. I guess the Giants could happen, but let's be real. Like, you're going to smoke the Giants if you play them. The Cowboys have enough talent where they could potentially be a problem. So I'm not exposing people to unnecessary risk in a game that could be close and heated for what it's worth, right? Like,
it's a great point.
I'm not, saying a player is going to do a dirty thing, but they are rivals. Like, who knows? Someone drills Jalen. Who's more likely to drill Jalen at the end of a play? Cowboys player?
Totally.
Right?
It's a great point.
And I know they're not going to sit him, but I'm not giving 100%. I'm not showing anything. I'm going into the game. And I saw people like, maybe sub guys in and out. Well, once you decide you're not going to try to win the game, then don't go half of it. Right. And to your point, this is not
half-assed. You can say half-assed.
Well, I don't like to curse on the pod, but so I understand. I do understand like the wanting to win part. I do, but how does it benefit them? Like, what's the benefit of trying your hardest to beat the Cowboys? Just to send a message and that aside, what if you do go in there and you smack them around and you try your hardest and Jalen's awesome and it's an amazing day in Philly sports and that's cool. And then the Cowboys are super motivated. I don't know. The game doesn't matter anymore. They have to win one of 3 games. It doesn't matter if it's the Cowboys, the Saints, or the Giants. So I've been excited for this game all year. I thought it could be an all-time epic game. Maybe it still will be. We all need to be honest with ourselves and say this game does not matter any more than the final 2. And it's something to consider how they should approach this.
I have nothing to add. Like what you said is my 100% opinion. I feel exactly the same. Exactly the same.
And I think
Nick, that's all I got. Like it is 100% what Eliot said. Like, why would you show them your hand? Why would you risk players' injury? It's a short week coming off a cold, tough game. Like,
third straight road game.
It's just like a no-brainer. I'm 100% with you. 100%.
Now, would you actually bench the starters?
Yeah. Look, I would. Hold up. I would talk to. This is a team that's all about culture. Nick and Jalen, Nick and these guys, they have an amazing relationship. I would see what they want to do. In all honesty, I don't think I would just flat out sit them without like them being okay with it. But if they want to play, I'd be like, hey guys, listen, I get it. We're not doing more than a half, and I would bargain with them and find a way for them to understand the importance of it all, and like maybe give them a chance to go out and get some reps in. But like, I'm not trying to win this football game, and certainly when they're out there, I'm playing it vanilla. I'm playing not to get hurt. Like, I'm not taking it super seriously.
Man, like
people would hate it. I'm just telling you where I'm at.
No, I agree. Look, I think it's if this was not a public facing business, that is the decision a smart businessman would make. Right?
Exactly. So, yes.
Take away.
What's best for your company? What's best for your bottom line? We're a bottom line podcast.
What gives Eagles a better chance of winning the Super Bowl? Exactly. Try to beat the Cowboys tomorrow or on Saturday or whatever. And plus, let's be real. It's Christmas. Let everyone enjoy their dinner. Don't make it 10.
Look at you.
And for what it's worth, and I don't think this would happen, but what if the Eagles try their hardest to beat the Cowboys and
someone gets hurt or whatever?
Or they don't. Like they go to Dallas. They give it their best shot, their game plan. Everyone's out there, and
they're probably going to lose anyway. It's a third straight road game. Like we always talk about, the numbers on that are insane. It's so hard to win those. Like just.
I do. I didn't think of this component of it. It is a bit of a flex and a bit of a mind game to pull the Cowboys to go in there and be like, we're not playing our guys. That's
what I'm saying. It would be such a flex and be like, hey, guess what? You got Gardner. Have fun against him.
Here's the question.
We don't care about you.
What would the NFL do?
Well, they wouldn't be happy about it, but what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do?
Maybe who knows if they call
the Eagles openly or not the game on that.
That's what I mean. The radar is up when it comes to the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, look, teams sit their starters all the time. Like that's happened for years and years and years. I mean, the Peyton Manning Colts were undefeated and sat their starters.
This is a unique situation.
They're 14-0 and they sat their starters. Eliot, think about that.
This would be unique.
That's even more unique. 14-0 before they were undefeated. That's the most unique.
I'm saying no. I would be curious to know how many times.
The point is, don't start the guys and then pull them if it's a close game like you did last time. Like execute it better.
Look, if you play them, you play them. If you play,
everyone understands. This has been forever. So,
but let me ask you.
But I get it.
It would be, I think, the first time you sit starters where you have not clinched anything.
Oh, I agree.
And are you
look,
tempting fate a little bit? I don't
maybe I don't know.
What do the Saints think? It's like walking somebody and then.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy a win over the Bears, and you're already, yeah.
Well, it's over.
Let this sit for a minute. Let me think it. No, honestly, I would not do anything to risk my long-term chances in this game. But look, if they go in and say we're gonna play, we're gonna try and win and clinch it, and then we can figure it out. Like, I'm not gonna kill them. Like, I'm not gonna say like you morons. But if it were me, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have a great chance to go to the Super Bowl. Every game, and I thought this going into the game today. Today was a no-win situation, right? They're supposed to win. If they win by 30, it's not like no one's writing home about it because it's just another win. Only bad could come from today in a lot of ways. And that's kind of where they're at until the playoffs now. Like, that's kind of where they're at. There's so much risk. So I just
you're the 1 seed. Just get to that playoff game healthy and not too they haven't played in a while and you bring it. But
it'll be a fun week of discussion, that's for sure.
I can't wait. All right. We will obviously have pods this week leading up to the game and after the game. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, buddy? Is again, they win. They stack one.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Chicago's an awesome city. You were right about that. It's a super sick city. No.
Love it.
That's all I really
just good because I have to put Zoe to bed. I have to put.
Yeah. Good.
No, I was gonna say I have to put Zoe to bed. So what's your final thought? I got no other final.
20 seconds.
Go for it.
I was really looking forward to the Cowboys game. It'll still be awesome, but I'm happy Christmas is going to be about Christmas. Let's get our holiday back, right? Like, the Christmas will be about Christmas now, Christmas Eve. And I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So,
I'm happy for you. This is not. I'm not your audience for this one, but I'm sure there are people out there being like, "Yeah, Eliot, I love it." I can care less. But I'm with you.
I'll just enjoy Christmas Eve dinner without worrying if the Eagles are going to win.
Love it. I love it. All right. We will be back later in the week. As again, the headline is
13.
Eagles are 13-1. Man, 13-1. It is astounding. All right, we'll be back later in the week. He's Eliot James.